I mean, the argument we make in the second half of the book, the normative argument, the prescriptive part of the argument, builds off of the empirical observation that governance is actually a much more fragmented and, interlaced set of institutional actors than just the nation state. It says, okay, well, rather than pretend that the nation state is the only actor that can do governance, why don't we try to imagine different kinds of ways in which these systems could come together in new configurations, right? And so there's basically two arguments we make. One is that we need a new set of institutions, a new set of categorically different institutions that are specifically designed to address these planetary challenges like climate change or pandemic risk. But that we also need to think much more systematically about how do we get subnational actors who contribute to governance in various ways to be able to collaborate globally with each other. So let me just give an example of this. Think about a challenge like adapting to climate change. Take a country like the United States. The challenges that a place like Los Angeles, where we're currently sitting, faces from climate change are very different than the challenges that a place like Miami is facing. Miami is at or below sea level. It faces hurricanes, faces flooding risk. Those are the primary challenges that face Miami from the point of view of climate change. In California, the challenges are catastrophic storms, drought, fires, stuff like that, right? And the challenges that Los Angeles faces are not at all similar to Miami, but they are very similar to the kind of challenges that places like Cape Town or Perth in Australia are facing, which are also large cities in the southwest corners of continents that face drought, that face fire. And so that we should be thinking a lot more in terms of how do we govern climate change in Los Angeles in terms of collaboration with places like Cape Town and Perth, rather than thinking about how do we collaborate, maybe orchestrated by Washington, D.C., with Miami. Miami, on the other hand, should be thinking about places like, Saigon, right? Another low-lying place that's facing hurricanes, maybe Shanghai, right? In a delta area, facing, risks from typhoons and hurricanes. And so the best practices that these kinds of places need to put together to adapt to climate change, they should be collaborating with one another, right? And it isn't necessarily even like the state actors that should be the primary actors. It may be corporate actors that need to be able to collaborate across these subnational units. So one of the major arguments we make is we need a lot more what we call trans-local governance networks to work together to address these kinds of planetary challenges.
And the good news on this front is that these actually already exist, as opposed to the planetary institutions that we call for, which are more speculative or hypothetical or kind of a vision for the future. Translocal networks are very much a thing and are growing. They're getting stronger, they're having a more active role in global politics, and this is a really good thing. And we're just calling for more of it, that let's build on the successes of networks that already exist and are exchanging ideas, exchanging best practices, because not every city, not every locality, even neighborhood needs to reinvent the wheel. If the flooding challenges that one city have might be very similar to another one. So it's great that they're already in conversation with each other, at least in some cases, and we want to have much more of that and think of that not as peripheral to the global system, but really at the center of it.